Today we're going to talk about a pen which is not actually mine. It belongs to my mother. I don't know which box it came in, but it's a fairly popular pen model, I think. Maybe not necessarily the most popular finish, but I think it's pretty cool. I'm talking about the Lamy Studio. This is the Palladium finished version, which is a little bit more expensive, but my father and I, sorry, just reaching for some tea here. My father and I gave my mother this pen for a birthday. Note how I say a birthday and not her birthday, because it was not her most recent birthday. She turned 57 at the time, so we had the pen engraved. I'm not sure why you can read that, but it says Heinz van ons. Van ons is Dutch for from us, and Heinz is an expression which creates a lot of confusion. My father is not called Heinz. So a lot of people who see this and they look at a pen and they say, Heinz? A guy named Heinz gave you a pen? That was actually a joke. In the game of darts, some numbers have names. So for example, the number 222 is called Ducks in the Pond. Okay, 111 is called Into the Madhouse, because 11 is the number of fools, and madness, 111, 1111, etc. Heinz is a number that symbolizes, is a name that symbolizes the number 57, because of the 57 varieties of Heinz, you know, the ketchup stuff. It's a joke. She liked it. The pen. I'll talk to you about the parts, tell you what I like about it, what I don't like about it, and I'll do a writing sample. So, when I got this, I was not a huge Lamy fan, but my mother was. By now, I have to admit that Lamy makes some very decent nibs, and I still don't care for all of their designs, but some of these pens are actually pretty nice. I didn't injure myself, by the way. This is just some ink. Okay, let's start with the cap. On top of the cap, there's a little bit of shiny end thing. I can see myself in there. It's that polished. Then we have the clip. The clip is a very unique shape. It's almost like a spoon, I would say. It's very flat. So this is completely, you know, flat, but it's pretty unique, and it works. It's fairly springy, but it really allows you to put a pen in a pocket, and it slides. I can't really show you, I guess, but it really slides onto stuff very easily. So that works well. As I said, this is a Palladium finish. On the so that's the grayish color, if I remember correctly, and then we have the word Lamy here on the cap. The cap is a slip cap, the barrel is nicely tapered, and at the end it again has a highly reflective silver thingy. I think you can even see the computer screen in there, so it's really reflective, and it has a little lip. As I said, the cap is a slip cap. You just pull it off, and when you want to post it, it clicks in place. And it's really in there quite securely, which I like. I don't think my mother's a poster of pens, but if you do like to post, you know, your cap won't fly off, which I always like when it doesn't fly off. I mean, I don't like it when it flies off, but you get what I mean. Section, again, this Palladium finish, the cap lip right there, so that keeps the cap in place. It sticks out a little. This nib really looks like the nib that's on a Safari, for example. You see that? These are almost identical nibs, but there is one big difference, and that is that the nib in this Studio is 14K. So it's a 14 karat gold nib. It says M 14K 585 Lamy. And the interesting thing is, I'm not sure how well you can see that, it's actually just a strip of gold in what seems to be a steel nib. I'm not sure whether they actually weld it in there, or whether they just plate the rest of the nib in something else, but to me it looks like it's just a bit of gold welded into a steel nib. And actually, why wouldn't you do that? It would save gold, and it's, you know, interesting. So you can, at least you can see the color here, I think. See what I mean? I know it's not in focus, but still. Okay, so you unscrew the pen. I'm trying to remember whether it came with the converter. Actually, I don't think so. I think we had to buy that separately. And at a, you know, a pen at this price level, you would expect it, I guess, to come with a converter. Maybe it did. Honestly, I can't remember. The interesting thing about this converter, I can't really show you because there's Kensington blue in there. But what I love about this converter, I'll try to keep it up so that the ink won't fly out, is that you can disassemble it. So you can take off. You know this is going to be a disaster with ink everywhere. Come on. Okay, so apparently today this converter is not really feeling like cooperating. There we go. This metal ring, you can slide that off and then you can pull out the entire piston unit. I'm not going to do that now, but just so you know. So cleaning is very easy. You can just disassemble the converter, take a bulb syringe, put it in there, you know, and flush out the ink reservoir. Beautiful. I love it when manufacturers do that. The converter is also marked Lamy, and I don't know, this is Z5 or Z6, I forgot the number of the converter, sorry. So there you have it, Lamy Studio. I think it's time to do writing sample, but before that, what do I like about it, what do I not like about it? Well, I like the weight of the pen. The weight is nice. It's not too heavy, it's not too light. I think that's a pretty decent weight. This is something you can actually write with for quite a long time without getting too tired, but you would feel you are holding a pen, a decently made pen. I like that. I like the posting feature of the cap. I think that's interesting. I'm not too sure whether I really care for that nib design with a little strip of gold in there. It seems to make sense from a certain point of view, but I mean, either I have a two-tone nib, like this, which is just a standard two-tone with a lot of gold and a lot of silver-colored stuff, or this, but I guess this is part of the Lamy design, which is all kind of, you know, angular and tight and you know, high-tech, sort of modern-looking. So you know, Bauhaus stuff going on there. I guess I shouldn't really complain about that. It's just an aesthetic thing I don't really like. What I can tell you is that the nib is very, very smooth, very pleasant to use, so it's not really an issue. Just something I don't particularly like. Also, this clip, I don't know. It works, but the shape, I mean, this sort of sticks out, and then I can imagine it's going doo-doo, doo-doo, you know, something like that. So I'm not sure about that, but those are just aesthetic things. The pen itself is great. I love it. I don't own it, but I still love it. So Lamy Studio, let's do a writing sample. I hope this is going to be useful, and I'll see you later. Bye bye. All right. Writing with the Lamy Studio Palladium. Nib is medium, and the ink is Kensington Blue by Diamine. Bit of writing. Writing is very smooth, I have to say. So we have that gold 14K nib, very pleasant to use. Almost no resistance on the paper. Let's do some quick writing. Feed seems to keep up well. There's a little bit of skipping there, but I think I actually misaligned the nib. When you write so quickly, that happens. Very interesting. My camera seems to make this ink quite dark, by the way. It is in fact a somewhat lighter blue. I kind of enjoy it. Okay. Maybe try out some line variation. That looks pretty good. Line variation is not huge, but it's definitely possible to squeeze out some line variation. And then it brings out the shading of the ink pretty nicely too, so that's all very good. What else have we got? A little bit of coloring. I've got the feeling this is a fairly wet pen, So far I have to say all the Lamys I've used are on the wet side and on the broad side. And I think that's apparent in this pen too. It's definitely wet. Not the wettest I've ever used. I think my Safari in broad. I happen to have that here for an encyclopedia entry I just did. See, now that is really wet. This, lays down a thick patch of wet ink. The Studio is a little bit drier, but it's by no means a dry pen. It's still quite. It could also be the ink a little bit. So, Okay. Well, I have to say I think it's a very interesting pen. I bought this at a period when I was not a huge Lamy fan, but I think it's definitely nice. Okay, so well, there you have it, the Lamy Studio Palladium. I hope this was useful, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.